Hey everyone. Today we're continuing our story. My God, how many mistakes I have made in my life. While I was driving home, I kept thinking how I wish I knew how it would all end. This is the biggest struggle of my life, and I hope nothing worse will happen. But so much has already been destroyed. This fictitious marriage in which I lived must be demolished to the ground, ground into dust and sprinkle salt on the ground on which it stood. But there is no point in hurting a little girl who, at this moment, is not even aware of the battle being waged between her mother and her father. These kids shouldn't see us together. When Amy and I are in the same room, the entire atmosphere is filled with dangerous, poisonous gas. I will not allow my children to be put at risk like this. I won't quarrel with her in front of them, but I swear I will put her in her place and stop any of her lies or manipulation if necessary. Sorry it took so long. It just seems to me that every decision I make entails 1,000 consequences. Those who say, be a man, or DNA doesn't matter, need to understand that hurting Haley is the last thing I want, and I am determined not only to support her, but also to fight for her. I don't know how this will all end. But both I and this little girl were deceived by the same person. A person whom I will not allow to traumatize a girl the way he traumatized me. This won't happen, and no one will come near my daughter until I allow this. This will not be Amy's decision. If it comes to that, I will check his background and meet him in person, and only then will I make a decision. I was able to shield the children from whatever storm was coming, and will try to protect them from as much debris as possible. But our souls will bleed more than once before this is all over. This massacre could have been avoided, but once the bomb explodes, it is no longer possible to evade its blow. Sorry for letting off steam. Initially, I was only going to write a short update, but sometimes it's too hard. Brevity is not my sister. I go to psychotherapy twice a week. I'm not sure it helps, but this is just the beginning. I need to go to bed. Therefore, sorry for the confusion. I'll leave everything as it is. Don't expect an update anytime soon. These posts have helped me vent a little bit about what I'm feeling. So, thank you. I just need to focus on my recovery and making this life transition as painless as possible for the kids. Update 4. Not sure where to start. I'm afraid of missing something. It's very difficult to talk about one part of my situation without bringing up other aspects of my life. If the text seems unrelated to you, forgive me, but it will be long, because the life I lived is long gone. And now it seems to me that it was just a dream, and now I'm awake. The best analogy I could give is that Amy forced Jacob, Haley, and me to be on a cheap reality show against our will and without our knowledge. Shows were canceled, masks were torn off, and we were left with the cold reality of our collective lives. Not a day goes by that I don't think about how happy I was in my old life. But now I know that it was all a complete lie. I wouldn't want to go back there. The most important news I have to share is that legally I am no longer Haley's father. I was never her biological father. My name has been officially removed from her birth certificate. Since Amy and I are still married, I'm now Haley's stepfather. As weird as that may sound. When the divorce is officially finalized, I will become a nobody to her, just as she is to me. What should have taken about 2 months took 4 due to a pending divorce. My name had to be removed from her birth certificate in order to move in the right direction with the divorce. Legally, I had every right to do this. However, the decision on whether to remove my name was left to the judge to decide what was best for the child. Your DNA obliges you to pay child support until you're 18, but our court system considers that a secondary consideration when it comes to removing names from legal documents. I was willing and able to show the judge that I would voluntarily continue to pay for Haley's health insurance and other needs. Many men in my situation could not do this, nor should they. None of these decisions should be left to the judge. The injustice of the system did not affect me, but this does not mean that it is fair. From the moment I found out that Haley was not my daughter, I thought over and over again about the best way to handle this situation. Yes, the realization that she was not mine destroyed me emotionally. So much so that I'm not even sure I can describe it in words. But if I handled Haley's issue based on emotion, it would be a recipe for disaster. Emotions are not based on reason and logic. Letting my love for Haley control me would be as stupid as letting my hatred for Amy do it. Legally, I had every right to cut all ties with Amy and Haley, since neither of them were ever truly close to me. Morally, I couldn't allow Haley to suffer economically because of her mother's chaotic life. Ethically, I could not allow her to feel in the slightest degree that her mother was to blame for her birth. Ultimately, after much thought, I came to the realization that both she and I were victims of Amy. My wife took away my freedom of choice in every aspect of our relationship when she cheated on me. I was not told that she no longer loved me, or perhaps never did. I was deprived of the right to know that she was unfaithful. I was deprived of the opportunity to know that I was no longer the only one for her. I didn't know that she had conceived a child with another man and forced me to raise him as my own for 6 years. Haley didn't have the opportunity to choose me as a father. She couldn't tell her mother, which caused us both great harm. I wanted to give both of us the opportunity to be heard. The day after my name was officially removed from Haley's birth certificate, I applied to legally adopt her. This had been my plan all along, as soon as I could make sure that her face would not be a reminder of her mother's betrayal. All I needed to know was how I would feel seeing her after finding out that she was not my biological daughter. If meeting her had felt like a slap in the face from her mother, I wouldn't have been able to adopt her. Some people think I'm a creature. Fragile masculinity. I think one toxic feminist put it when I wasn't sure how I'd react to Haley. If I had completely left Amy and Haley, which I legally had every right to do, it would not have been a wrong decision. And I won't pretend that Jacob's presence in my life didn't influence my decision. After all, Haley is his sister and Amy is his mother. He is a good big brother and his sister loves him. This played an important role in my choice, but Haley is my daughter. No, not in the same way that Jacob is my son, because he is of my blood. But I am her father, and I want her to remain in my life. I just felt like we needed to officially get things in order and give us opportunities that we didn't have before. At first glance, these may seem like pointless legal steps to get back to where I already was. My marriage was a lie. The relationship with Amy was probably a sham from the very beginning. What I deserve is the opportunity to start over. Choose another woman with the hope that she will be faithful and devoted. But I can never get it. I'll never know what could have been, even if any choice would be better than marrying an unfaithful woman. The children will not learn how vicious and treacherous their mother's actions were for many years. But one day I want them, especially Haley, to know about my struggle, about how I tried to hold on and protect them. I want her to understand that despite all the hatred I feel for her mother, I gave myself the opportunity to choose whether to be her father or not. And I chose to be. When the judge asks this innocent little girl if she wants me to be her daddy again, I want her to say yes without hesitation. Only years later does she realize that she actually chose me as her father. She also had a choice. We were thrown in together and had no say in the matter. But I'm doing everything I can legally to adopt her, as if she were my flesh and blood, even if she's not. One day, when she becomes an adult and realizes that she had a chance to free herself from me, and she didn't take it, I want her to smile. I want her to know that I didn't have to be her father. I chose to be her father. In a sense, this makes our connection even stronger than blood. There are a few people I am related to by blood that I would rather not be related to. But I can't choose. And Haley and I chose each other when we could have cut all ties. She knows that I love her, and I will always love you. Functioning every day just to get through this hell that my life has become is incredibly difficult. It's exhausting. But I've also been thinking about how I want kids to feel about this years later when they become adults. When they find out about their mother's actions, about how I found her, and what I discovered. I want them to be disgusted. When Haley realizes that I didn't have to pay a penny to raise her, but I did anyway, I want her to feel grateful. When she realizes that her mother put both of us in this situation, but we got through it together, I want her to be glad that we made it through. When they realize that their stability could have been completely destroyed because of their mother, but I held it together for the three of us, I want them to understand at least some of the sacrifice I made. I will not allow distorted stories to be told in 10 or 20 years. I know that their mother is a selfish, pathetic, and worthless person. One day they too will know this truth, and I hope that they themselves decide to turn on her for what she did. But it will be their decision. When the truth is revealed, all I can do is get Amy out of my life in every possible way, and continue to live. I don't care what happens to her. Children are the only thing that matters now. A lot of people asked how I dealt with Amy telling the kids that we would never get back together because I didn't love her anymore. The very next day after school, I took them both for ice cream at the local park. Jacob seemed to accept that I didn't like their mom, but he didn't like it. It was hard for Haley to hear that I didn't love her mom, and my answer that her mom didn't really love me didn't help. They both cried a lot and had a lot of confusion in their heads. I tried to tell them that without any doubt, their mother truly loves them, and I love them more than anything in this world. But they had to hear the truth and accept the reality that none of us asked for. That's really all that matters. Haley asked why I didn't love my mom anymore. I wanted to be as honest with her as I could, but I didn't know how to tell her that her mother was crazy. All I could come up with was to say that her mom lied to me and hurt me. She hugged me to comfort me, and it almost broke my heart, considering she needed comfort herself. Jacob asked what would happen with the divorce. I told them that they would live with me and I would take care of them at home for a week. I explained that the court would decide what weekends they could spend at their grandparents' house with their mom. I promised them that from now on, their mom and I would keep all our fights to ourselves. I explained that she and I had a long talk last night after they got home. Haley said she wanted her mother to stay with us. It pained me to tell her that this would never happen again under any circumstances, but she needed to hear it. She said her mom told her she wanted to come back and stay with us. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her that I had no doubt that their mother would really like to stay with us. I told them it's impossible to explain now, but their mother betrayed the three of us. I said they weren't old enough to understand it at the moment, but I promised that one day I would explain to them why I think their mother no longer deserves to live with us. Strangely, Haley accepted it more easily than Jacob. He started asking at what age he could find out what his mother did. He didn't like it when I said it had nothing to do with age, but with maturity level. He said it was an excuse. I didn't argue with him. I said I wanted them to love their mom and treat her with respect, because as far as they knew, she had done nothing wrong to them. One day, they will know everything. I'll leave them letters in my will if I have to, in case Amy drags some ex-con into the house who's ready to kill me. If it doesn't come to that, I will tell them myself when they are old enough, knowing that this will negatively affect their opinion of her. I have a feeling that soon they will see a version of their mother who will do most of the work for me. One day they will find out what she did to us all. But we stayed together and managed to build a decent life for her three biggest victims. I am incapable of pretending to my children and acting like their mother means something to me. She is disgusting in every way. If she had died, I would not have shed a single tear for her vile soul as she went straight to hell. She deserves it. I hate her for what she did to me and the children. I hate her for allowing herself to become what she became. I hate her for the stress and tears she brought to our families. She doesn't deserve forgiveness, chances, and even less compassion. I don't consider her injuries from the accident to be karma. It's just pain and suffering that she deserves. Real karma would have found a way to avoid destroying my car and would have caused much more serious damage than what Amy suffered. I heard from children that the next day their mother would have the pins removed from her shoulder. I didn't tell them that I hoped they would do it with a powerful electromagnet, but it was hard for me not to say so. A few weeks after our conversation, the children returned home from their grandparents with a letter. It was sealed in an envelope with my name on the front. I couldn't throw it away in front of the kids, so I just put it on the table with all the other mail. After I put the kids to bed, I decided to read it. Amy started by apologizing for hurting me. She claimed that she never intended for it to come to this, that she forgot who she was and who she wanted to be, and apologized for hurting the children. Despite all my contempt for her, I had to give her credit. If she had stopped there, I might even have shown her some respect. But then she wrote that she still loves me with all her heart, always has and will always love me. I needed to laugh, and this letter gave me that chance because I knew she really believed the nonsense she wrote. That's what made her words so funny. According to her, this is why she did not want to develop feelings for other men. Her heart belonged to me. I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't. She couldn't give her body to others if she loved me. She couldn't do something so painful if she loved me. She wrote that she gave her body to other men because she wanted to experience what it was like to be young and free from responsibilities and obligations, something she had never experienced. But since she had no emotional connection with these men, her heart, according to her, always belonged only to me. In other words, her infidelities were strictly physical, which she thought was supposed to sound like something positive. Only the sickest of doctors could make such a conclusion. By disappearing from Amy's life, I protected myself from her madness. This was necessary for my own peace of mind. However, I also fenced myself off from fully understanding the depth of her mental and physical trauma. Since the day everything was revealed, I have thought 1,000 times that I never really knew her. But what she chose to write made me realize that she never knew me. She didn't even try to make me angry. I understood this from the way the letter was written. Her words essentially justified her actions as the lesser of two evils. For her, her lack of emotion towards other men supposedly kept her heart for me. This was her explanation. I understand that realizing that your partner is in a purely emotional relationship with someone else can be soul-destroying. But no one has ever contracted a sexually transmitted disease through text messages or conceived a child through calls, letters, or correspondence, and then had someone else raise that child. I can say with complete certainty that I would have preferred her to have thousands of emotional connections if they had never turned physical. The fact that she didn't understand this just screams, I never knew you. She chose the worst of two evils in my eyes, and she never knew me enough to understand it. I've heard a lot of other people's stories about cheating, but I've never heard someone say, there was never an emotional connection between us. But this is exactly what she claims, and at the same time, she does not realize that she is essentially admitting that for the last 6 years of her life, she was nothing more than a primitive, immoral creature, guided only by instincts. Only unreasonable creatures who are unable to control their intimate impulses and behavior behave this way. She understood that her actions were wrong, but to some extent she justified herself for what she did, so as not to simply go crazy. Before this letter, I had little understanding of how she perceived her actions, which she performed with enthusiasm and without remorse. The depth of debauchery that she not only accepted but also welcomed completely destroyed any attraction I had for her. Because of her, I will forever be left with these terrible images in my head, like the one when I caught her with that random guy. But that scene was nothing compared to her admission that she had cheated with enough men to man an aircraft carrier. When the private investigator showed me the recovered messages, photos, and videos from her old phone, something inside me snapped. I felt like I was married to a strawberry site or yellow hub. Anyone who finds out that their partner is having a one-night stand, I truly feel for you. People who find out their partner cheated with the same person, my heart breaks for you. But I can't find the words to describe what it's like to find out that the love of your life indulged in the lowest and most vile things, like some cheap ancient Roman whore, and got pleasure from it. Now I can't imagine Amy without seeing before my eyes the picture of her face covered in oatmeal jelly. She disgusts me so much that I will always perceive her in this guise. No amount of emotional ties to another person would make me think of her that way. She stopped being worthy the moment she turned her life into a 6-year time bomb. Haley's adoption petition was only the second or third most important thing for Amy that day. When I filed the papers at noon, the sheriff came to her parents' house to serve the divorce papers. 10 minutes later, another sheriff served her the papers for the civil lawsuit I filed against her. Calls and messages from her parents' phones went unanswered and were not read. Calls to my law firm resulted in her being strongly advised to hire her own attorney to begin the case. I was told that she yelled at several employees that day. Lauren eventually told her that the divorce would move forward whether she liked it or not, and any further harassment of her or her employees would be dealt with strictly. I'd even like Amy to keep pushing. I would never back down, but for what she did, she deserved real criminal punishment. A week later, the lawyer representing her called Lauren, and they had their first conversation. He asked if we were serious about pursuing a civil suit to recover the costs of raising a child that was not mine. Lauren assured him that we were committed to getting every penny we spent back on the paternity scam. Lauren didn't mention that it wasn't about the money. Even if I win, the likelihood that I will see even a portion of the funds awarded is extremely low. But if I win, the money will be deducted from each of her salaries until full settlement. This will be a dear reminder and punishment for what she did. And even if I lose, she will still have to pay a lawyer to represent her. And this is even more expenses that she cannot afford. He said he understood that the vast majority of the assets, including the family home, belonged to me long before our marriage. But he added that we cannot seriously expect to receive custody of both children, receive child support from her, and no child support for herself after a serious accident. Lauren told his lawyer that his client had been cheating in her marriage long before the accident and had chosen the wrong time to get caught. She informed him that our goal was to make this as painful as possible for Amy. The only valuable property that was in her name and remained in her possession was her car. And she could have left him. She was allowed to keep her pension savings because my portfolio was significantly larger than hers. The irony is that she wouldn't even have this retirement account if I hadn't insisted that she contribute the maximum amount possible from each paycheck. She never had to pay for utilities. Buying her own car and paying for insurance were her only expenses. She could spend the rest of the money on herself. Now she will have to live only on her own. I know she's already starting to feel the financial hardship, and that will only get worse if I win the civil suit. Starbucks sales will definitely fall, but it is necessary. I think she never expected me to go this far. As for cars, I drove her car for several months after my car was totaled in an accident. Knowing that this was the only valuable possession she had added to the pleasure, even if it was petty on my part. I bought myself a new beautiful SUV and asked a friend to follow me in it while I drove Amy's car to her parents. I left the key in the mailbox, not knowing when she would be able to drive again. Judging by her past, I was sure that she would start looking for new lovers as soon as she could. I hope that living with her parents will make her feel young and free from responsibility. True, bringing random men to your parents' house is somehow simply indecent. Sooner or later, she will need some place to continue her adventures. For example, this car. I thought how funny it would be to donate it to the local school for criminal law students. As perversely sweet as it sounds, the most satisfying thing about leaving this car to her was the lack of a spare tire. He was never there. This was one of my main arguments against buying this particular car when she asked my opinion. I remember her saying, all sweet and charming, that she would always have me there to help if she got a flat tire on the road. Now I could feel free to leave a note under her trunk mat saying, I bet you could use a spare tire right now. But I'm sure that sooner or later she will understand this herself. A few days after the lawyers spoke on the phone, they met in person to discuss some issues. Amy's side requested a meeting to discuss the situation with Haley. I didn't want her to interfere with my adoption of Haley, so I agreed for the sake of our daughter. And we met at Lauren's. I was sitting in the main conference room when Lauren walked in with Amy's lawyer and Amy herself. I never really understood what people meant when they said someone looked like they were in a storm. Until I saw her. Her appearance was terrible. For the first few minutes, I thought that my eyes were deceiving me, that this was some kind of hallucination from hatred. But when Lauren glanced at me as if confirming Amy's appearance, I realized I wasn't going crazy. She lost a lot of weight, so much so that her face became a little sunken. She was never overweight and lost weight easily after both pregnancies, but now she looked like she was being groomed for a Florida crime drama. She had her hair cut short and looked like it hadn't been washed since the accident. I'm not sure what she could have worn to look better, but I do know that she got all her things back, so no one can blame me for her appearance. The lawyers began to discuss various issues, exchanging remarks. I felt Amy looking at me, I didn't want to look in her direction. If I looked, I would only want to express hatred and contempt. When I finally glanced in her direction, I wondered, where did that beautiful girl I once knew go? It was a real-life fail. From a good-natured beauty in just 6 months, now I am just the guy she used. Luckily, the conversation soon turned to discussing Haley's situation, which helped take her mind off her appearance. They asked if we were trying to find Haley's biological father. I replied that nothing would be done in this direction until the divorce and custody issues were fully resolved. Then I asked if she remembered any names that could lead us to our father. I didn't like to even say it, and she didn't like to hear it, but the truth is the truth. She replied that she did not remember any names from this period of her life. I asked if she was going to stop me from legally adopting Haley. She replied that she would like my name never to be removed from my daughter's birth certificate, and she certainly wasn't going to stop me from putting it on it again. That was all I needed to know. At this point, I was ready to end the meeting. But no. Before I could stand up and try to end the conversation, Amy asked me a question. Would you be able to forgive me and take me back as your wife after my first mistake if I confessed and swore that I would never fail again? This is a blow. It was a question she had probably asked herself over and over again since the first night she cheated. It was a question to which she already knew the answer. Me too. This was her attempt to express herself. She knew that for me, her betrayal was a betrayal after which I would immediately and forever delete her from my life. We have discussed more than once how each of us would react to betrayal. I always said that if I ever found out that she cheated on me, I would never listen to a word she said again. But all this was before the betrayal, and after that there were only screams, excuses, and a heated atmosphere. After several minutes of silence, I reluctantly said that she already knew that I wouldn't give her a second chance. Then I asked her if I had a random child from an affair and brought him home after 6 years, would she continue to care for him? Things went from bad to worse. She said that I am doing everything possible to hurt her now. I didn't deny it. She said that I am not her parents to punish bad behavior, meaning a civil suit. I made it clear to her that the punishment was a divorce and the civil suit was an attempt to get back what I had lost and what I was entitled to. She accused me of being willing to destroy our children's lives in order to destroy hers. I said she looks like she's sitting on a crystal. She started crying and saying that she still loved me. To which I rolled my eyes. Her tears no longer evoke any sympathy from me. They only push me to be even tougher with her. I promised her that the children would always be fed and well-dressed, but at the same time, I made it clear to her that I didn't care if she went hungry or walked barefoot. Once upon a time, I was ready to do anything to make her happy. I asked, "What else could I have done to keep you from betraying me?" She replied that she had betrayed herself. I screamed that she had betrayed Haley, that she betrayed everyone in her life. Lawyers tried to reduce the intensity of the situation. Lauren proposed a temporary child visitation agreement. Knowing when she can see them will allow her to better schedule her doctor's appointments. I warned her that although I don't care what she does and it's none of my business, she shouldn't bring any strange men to the children. She said she wasn't dating anyone. She didn't like it, but she promised that if it came to that, it would be without children. I asked her, did anyone other than Rebecca know about her infidelities? She said that she only told her sister, and even then only about the kiss after the first incident. The sister got furious and cursed her for 5 minutes straight. Amy knew she would never be able to tell her sister how far things had gone. No one except Rebecca knew about all the connections. Then she asked, is there a chance that we will undergo couples therapy to try to save the marriage? I asked her, why do I need a marriage without intimacy? She exploded that we always had sex. I explained that it was over now because I would never touch her dirty ass, given the number of her partners comparable to the number of victims of the COVID epidemic. Amy asked if I hated her. I'm not sure if she expected the answer yes or no, but with every fiber of my soul, absolutely. That's how things are. We're just waiting for the divorce case to go before a judge. A civil case cannot even be considered until the divorce proceedings are completed. Children cope given the circumstances. They see both sets of grandparents more often. If there is something positive in all this chaos, this is it. And yes, I understand that I need to let go of hatred. I go to therapy, but it took a while to find someone who was right for me. Even the therapist admits that I have many objective reasons to hate Amy. I'm not a person who seeks validation, but realizing that my hatred is not irrational really helps. My new therapist is helping me release my emotions and trying to help me let go. I'm not good at meditating, but this is something new for me. My first therapist was fine for the first 4 sessions. The first meeting is always more like an acquaintance, no matter how much information you have already provided in the application form. At first, everything went quite positively. She listened sympathetically and at the same time, encouragingly. But when we started discussing problems that arose before the betrayal, her tone changed. She seemed to hint that sometimes we ourselves do something that hurts or irritates our partner, but he does not tell us about it. If such problems smolder for weeks, months, or years, it becomes something of a powder keg, to the creation of which we also had a hand. I have enough pride and common sense to know that despite all my flaws and mistakes, nothing I've ever done can justify what Amy did. Nothing I did justifies even 1% of her actions. So I changed therapists. I tried a few sessions with a male therapist. He could understand the feeling of humiliation and the obsessive thoughts. He understood how overwhelming it all was. But I just didn't feel comfortable with him. Thank God I've already cried almost everything, but if I need to talk about some emotional things, I don't want to cry in front of a man. Men are here to drink and play sports. We don't discuss why Gary's wife is emotionally unavailable to him and doesn't understand his love language. At least I'm not like that. Part of me wanted to give him more of a chance, but I didn't see how there could be a connection between us. If that makes me sexist, then so be it. I'm just more comfortable trusting a woman. And finally, I found the right therapist. She was the only daughter in a family with 3 brothers, which gives her an idea about men. Her specialty is coping with infidelity and grief counseling. When I told her what brought me to her, she used half a box of tissues. She said she was surprised how well I was holding up. Still not sure if this was meant as a sign of support, or if she's really shocked that I haven't ended up in a mental hospital yet. For this post, I'll call my therapist Sarah. She helped me more than I expected. Just listening. She says that I am difficult to read, and that my behavior does not match my friendly personality. She noted that I use humor to diffuse tense situations and disarm people. I said that all the fun would be ruined if she denounced my humor in advance. She says I have to figure it out on my own. She is sure that she will help me, but rebuilding my life and myself is something I will have to do myself. I can't just pay someone to do all the work for me. I need to understand what my condition really is, fix what I can, and amputate what cannot be repaired. This will hurt, even more painful than I had already experienced. But I have to come to terms with what I've lost, because he is no longer there. The children also visit their therapist, 40 minutes individually with each of them and 40 minutes with the 3 of us twice a week. They're doing great. Psychotherapy helps them come to terms with the inevitable. I was a little worried about how the family sessions would go, given my feelings for their mother. I remained silent when the children expressed how much they missed their mother or wished we could be together again. I thought maybe I should show them on the doll where Amy hurt me, but dolls don't have souls. Sometimes I feel like I don't have it anymore either. I try to be sociable and lean on friends. But considering what I have to go through, small talk seems too small. I know that my friends are already tired of my outpourings. I'd be tired too. I try not to go into tirades, but the betrayal still eats me up from the inside. It's always somewhere in the background. And, of course, when we go out for drinks, they point at this or that girl. I understand that they are conventionally beautiful, but I have no desire to get to know them. And, unlike my wife, hygiene alone would not allow me to engage in casual relationships, even if the opportunity presented itself. Moreover, none of these young girls left the establishment with thoughts of taking a ticket to their forefathers, because they could not sleep with me. The lack of interest was mutual, But it hasn't just changed the way I look at women. It's changed the way I look at people in general. I seem to now doubt the personality and sincerity of everyone around me. Before all of this, Amy was someone I really admired. It makes me question other people in my life, both men and women I have admired over the years. She didn't make me a misogynist. She made me a misanthrope. Even though she may feel shame or guilt about what she did, I am sure that it would be quite easy for her to enter into a carnal relationship with another man. She'll start eating better, gain weight, and guys will start to be interested in her in no time. My opinion is that she will easily continue to live an intimate life. I can't, and I won't. I already feel dirty inside and out, knowing how much oatmeal, egg sweat, saliva, and stench from other men she splashed on my body. I feel like she has defiled me. She killed not only any desire for her, but also the desire to have sex in general. As strange as it may sound, Amy was the one for me. She was beautiful. I didn't need to look at other women. I thought we had something special. Now I just can't see beauty in women. My mind understands this, but my subconscious believes that all women are just like Amy and Rebecca. And this is my internal struggle. Whether she is fair or not, who knows? Someone wrote me a very supportive message of encouragement. This person then said that he was almost envious of me as a future bachelor with financial stability. He said that I would have no problems with women, and that I would be perceived as a high-ranking male. I thanked him for his support, not to mention that what he was looking forward to was a source of anxiety for me. I know people sleep with each other left and right every day, and everywhere. It's their business and those they sleep with. It's not mine. Good luck to them. I don't want a stranger, even a very attractive stranger, to touch me. I am a person who respects personal space. I can't imagine what it would be like to meet someone in a bar or through an app and, after a little chat, get intimate with them. Understanding that people can do this, stupidly take off their clothes and go into battle without seeing a problem in this, amazes me. Obviously, in a world with Tinder and dating sites, my position is the exception. I would constantly think about how long ago they did this to someone else. The vast majority of people embrace the fast connection lifestyle. Amy's number of intimate partners would not be so unusual for a modern single woman. I think most guys would do the same if they could. I couldn't. And I wouldn't want to, and obviously never wanted to be with anyone who ever did that. Part of me thinks Amy was talking about her cheating on purpose. If she had just admitted what she did and we got divorced, maybe I could pick up the pieces and give someone else a chance someday. It felt like she wanted to destroy me so that I would never want to be with anyone again. Just because she can't be with me. The devil's plan. And no matter how many showers she took, no matter how much rubber she used, someone else's DNA still penetrated my life. Disgusting. I hope her entire household just rots away. When Amy and I were each other's only intimate partners, every act was pure and beautiful. Her first betrayal destroyed everything we had or could have had in an instant. Any person who becomes physically involved with someone in a relationship defiles and poisons that relationship forever. In a split second, our relationship is like a glass of cold milk. And the touch of her lips to the lips of another man is like a drop of ink into this milk. Just one drop. And it's still like milk. Don't mind the color change, it probably still tastes the same. Just drink, right? But instead of immediately telling me about that one drop, so I could decide what to do next, she made me drink the whole glass. Moreover, she continued to feed me this, adding more and more of this toxic ink. Some people are like a glass of milk with one drop of ink. Amy is now a glass of ink with one drop of milk. She is a desecrated creature who is good for nothing but being a prostitute or meat in porn. I wish that the night she was conceived, someone would have run up and hit her father's bells so hard that they would cut into his spleen and he would no longer be able to have children. The world would be a better place without her. The things that most people enjoy when starting a new relationship cause me the greatest anxiety. I remember being breathless when I met Amy. I even had to get used to the fact that such a beautiful girl like her invaded my personal space. This is not due to low self-esteem. We were both open to each other, but we are introverts by nature. We gradually got used to each other, learned to kiss, feel closeness. And I got used to these things very slowly. Everyone thinks teenagers are just walking hormones. But Amy and I weren't like that. We have moved very slowly in this regard. I was taught that this is how it should be. This was what I wanted, and she swore to me that she wanted it too. We both believed in it. We built everything slowly and deliberately. But now the very thought of being intimate with someone else disgusts me. And, of course, now the very thought of Amy acts on me like an antidote to Viagra. It's all too hard. Every day I feel more and more ashamed of being part of the human race. My life wasn't supposed to turn out this way. We had so many wonderful moments ahead of us as a family. But the memories are destroyed, and these moments are buried. In the end, I loved Haley, but I had to let her go because our relationship was forced against our will. I tell her that if I had a choice, and I gave myself this choice, I would choose her as my daughter again. When the judge asks her if she wants me to adopt her, she will answer me with mutual love. The circle will close. Everything will fall into place as much as possible. I can never be her father. That title belongs to some guy who doesn't even know he has a 6-year-old daughter. But I'm the only dad she's ever known. Protector and breadwinner, outside of any legal field. I did what I had to do to keep my sanity. Even when others questioned my actions or accused me of cruelty, I did what I felt was necessary to give Amy's 2 biggest victims the opportunity to claim what was never truly theirs. I made mistakes in how I handled this situation, and I will understand exactly what mistakes I made only when I completely go through this path. But I did my best. To be continued. Overall, thanks for watching. Write your thoughts in the comments, watch our previous video, it will appear here. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part of this story. Well, good luck to you.